Hey guys, R4GE VipeRzZ, and today I'm going to show you how you can install Linux Mint on a 2017 iMac. So my iMac here is specifically an 18.1 model, but I believe it is also the same process on the 18.2. Now once we have Linux Mint installed, the only issue we're going to run into is that the built-in SD card reader won't work, it just doesn't, and the screen will be limited to 1080p. So if those are issues for you, you don't want to go into Linux Mint. Now there is also going to be a problem with sound, but we're going to fix that by manually installing the appropriate drivers to make it work. Now that is what I have these two files here for, is to get the audio working. So we have a .sh file that just has the commands that we're going to need to run in Linux. So we're going to be going to the repository by egonar. Now you don't have to create these files on macOS, all you have to do is run these commands in Linux. So however you want to do it, if you want to create in macOS, move it to a USB and copy it over, or once we have Linux installed, if you just want to access the commands through the internet, you can do. The contents of this file will be in the description. It's just these are the commands we will need to run, and we also have this other text file that contains a string that we will need to add to make the audio work as well. So it's up to you how you get it to your Linux Mint installation. I'm going to use a secondary USB to move it over, but you can do it however you like. So if you do not have a Linux Mint installation USB, the first thing we need to do is we just need to come to Safari, and we need to download BalinaEtcher. So we'll just download the version for macOS. And now it's downloaded, we'll just install it. So we'll just let that install. And now it's installed, we will now just get our Linux image. So we will come to the Linux Mint site, and we'll download the Cinnamon edition of 22.3. So you just want to pick a download location that is best for you. So I'll just select the UK, and then I'll let it download. And there we go, now the ISO has downloaded, we can now carry on with creating our installation USB. So I have a USB plugged into the bag that I'm going to be writing to. You don't want this USB to have anything on that you want, as when you create it as an installation USB, it will wipe everything off it. So I'll just open up BalinaEtcher, and then I'll click on Flash from File. Then we just want to select our Linux Mint ISO file. Then we will select a target, which is our plugged in USB. However, it doesn't seem to be seeing my USB at the minute, so I'll just re-plug it in again. And now after replugging it back in, it looks like the USB is now detected, so I'll just try and select my target USB again. And there we go, it's detected it now, so I'll just select it. And then I'll tell it to start flashing. And it's going to warn me because it's a large USB that it thinks there might be something wrong, but that is fine. I'm just going to click yes, I'm sure. And then we just need to put in our password for our machine. And once we've done that, it will now start creating the installation USB. And there we go, it's now created the installation USB, so we can now eject it. And I'm just going to plug my other USB in just to copy these two files over. Again, you can get them or create them in the Linux installation once we've done it, or you can manually tap them out. You don't have to do this. I'm just going to do it to make it easy for me in a minute. So there we go, I've just moved those files over. And now I've done that, we now just need to boot into the installation USB. So to do that, we just want to shut our Mac down. And now that's shut down, I'm just going to unplug my second USB. You want to make sure that your installation USB is still plugged in. So now you just want to hold down the command key on the keyboard and then press the power button on your iMac. So you want to keep the command button held down. And there we go, it's now booted into the boot options. So hopefully you only have one EFI boot option, but if like me you have two, you're just going to have to guess and see which one is the Linux Mint USB. So it looks like I was lucky, that first one was it. So I'm just going to press enter on Start Linux Mint 22.3. And there you go, as you can see, we're now booting into Linux Mint. So now it's booted into live environment, where it's going to come and double click on install Linux Mint. And then you just want to select your language, then your keyboard layout type. Then you could either not bother with your network connection at the minute, or if you're plugged in over Ethernet, it should already detect it. However, I'm on Wi-Fi, so I'll just connect to my Wi-Fi network. And now I've done that, I'll now continue. And I'm going to say install multimedia codecs. And as we're going to be overwriting our whole drive and replacing it fully with Linux Mint, I'm going to have the erase disk and install Linux Mint option selected, and I'll click install now. And then I'll click continue to confirm that it's going to wipe the data off the drive. So if you did have anything on the Mac that you wanted to keep, you should have copied this off to a separate drive earlier, as we're going to be wiping everything off it. Or if you know what you're doing and you're dual booting it, then you can do that. So you just want to select your location, and then you just want to put in whatever username you want your local account to have. And then you just want to put in whatever password you want for your local account. And then you just want to click continue. And now you just need to sit and wait and let it install to the hard drive. And there we go, now it's finished installing. We will just press restart now. And then we'll just press enter. Right, so now I'll just put my password in to log in. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to check for updates. So if we come to start and we just type up and open up the update manager. And if you want, you can just cross this off. I'll just say don't show it in future and cross it off. So if we just come back to update manager again, it looks like it hasn't fully loaded up. And then we'll click OK on that. And then it wants to apply an update to the actual updater. So we'll click apply this update. And then we'll just put in our password. And now the update manager has been updated. We will now just click install updates to actually apply the rest of the updates. And then again, we will just type in our password. And then we'll just let it install the updates. And there we go, it's now finished installing the updates. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move our kernel over to kernel 6.8. So to do that, if you go to View, and then Linux Kernels, and then click Continue. As you can see at the minute, it is currently bringing up 6.17, and that is supported up until August 2026. But instead we're going to click on 6.8, and as you can see that is supported until April 2029. So 6.8 is the long-term kernel, and it should be more stable for us. The only reason why you want to go to a newer kernel than 6.8 is if there was a specific feature in newer versions that fixed an issue for you. But we're going to go to the latest version of 6.8, so we're going to click on it and then we're going to click install, and then we'll say yes, and then we just need to type our password in, and then we just need to let it install. And there we go, now that's installed. We now just need to move over to the 6.8 kernel and then remove the other ones. So to do that, we just need to shut the Mac down. So we'll come to start and then shut down and tell it to shut down. And then we need to get back into the boot options. So I'm just going to unplug my install USB, as that doesn't need to be in anymore and it's just going to cause some confusion. And now we just need to get to the boot menu. So just like we did before, we're going to hold down the command button and then press the power button on the iMac. And we're going to keep the command button held down until we get to the boot options. So now we're going to hold down the escape key on the keyboard and then press enter on EFI boot. Now if that doesn't start booting you to the recovery area, you just want to hold down the power button on your iMac again to power it off. And then you just want to hold down the escape key on your keyboard and then press the power button on the iMac again. Then as soon as the Apple logo appears, you then want to let go of the escape key. And if you're lucky, you might get booted up to a nice window. If it boots up to the bash line like this, you just want to type normal and then press enter. And then you want to go down to the advanced options for Linux Mint and then press enter. And then you want to go down to Linux Mint 6.8 generic and then press enter to boot into it. So we'll now just log back in. And now we're logged back in, we want to come to start and then go to update manager again. And then we just want to go to view and then Linux kernels and then continue. And then we just want to go through and remove any installed kernels that are not 6.8. So I'm going to remove 6.17. So we'll continue on that. And then we just need to put our password in. And then we also need to go through and make sure there aren't any others. So as you can see, it also has 6.14 installed. So I'm going to do the same on that, remove, and then continue on that. And there we go. We now just need to go check that there aren't any others installed other than our 6.81. And there you go. As you can see, the 6.8.0-106 is now the only installed kernel. So now the next time the machine restarts, we don't have to mess about trying to tell it which one to boot to. That is the only one. So that is the only one it will boot to. So now we've done that, I will just show you that the sound currently will not be working. So there we go. As you can see at the minute, the sound is not working. So I'm just going to plug my USB in with the files on. Again, you can get these however you want, and you do not have to do other files. You could manually type all of the commands. So there we go. I've now plugged my USB in. So I'm just going to move the files to the downloads area. So I'll just select both of them, copy them, and then go to downloads and put them in there. So now what we need to do is just we need to open the terminal up. And then I'm going to change the location to my downloads area as I want to run this sound driver.sh file. So I'll just do cd space downloads and then press enter. And then I will just type // and then s and then press tab to finish the rest of the name, as that will find the .sh file in it. And then I'll press enter to run the .sh file. And then we just need to type our password in and then press enter. And then when it opens up Nano to enter, we're going to then open up our add conf information here. However, I don't know why that's trying to run it, so we'll just right click it, open with, and say text editor. And then we will just copy this line out of here. And then we'll paste it into the terminal there. And then we just want to press Ctrl and X to exit. Then say yes on saving it, and then press enter to write that file name. So there we go. Now that has been done, it should have installed the correct drivers. So I'll just quickly show you again what is in the .sh file. So as you can see, it just downloaded the correct driver from the GitHub repository, installed it, and then created a config file for it. So now we're just going to restart our machine. So now we'll just give the sound a test. So if we now unmute this, we should hopefully hear some sound. So there we go, as you can hear. Audio is now working. So guys, there you go, that's how you install Linux Mint on a 2017 iMac and have working Bluetooth, audio and Wi-Fi drivers. If you like the video, don't forget the like button. If you dislike it, hit the dislike button, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you another time. Bye.